welcome to the Bar Down Hockey Show. My name is Josh Dackles. I'm here with Liesl and Ethan Schmidt. And guys, last week was our first show back. I think it was a good show. And here we are again this week. Last week we talked about the NHL playoffs. We talked about the Stanley Cup. We talked a little bit about refs, all that stuff. But all that stuff is behind us now. We're going to focus on the NHL offseason this week. Let's talk about the NHL offseason. And let's start by talking about starting off with Eddie Olczyk. Eddie Olczyk is an announcer for NBC Sports, and he did have some sad news coming out during the offseason.
Yeah, he has cancer, and I think that's a really difficult thing for anyone to handle, whether they're a professional or they're an average, everyday person like you and me. It's a really unfortunate event, and I hope he's able to get over that. I really do hope him the best, and I think you just got to keep him in your thoughts.
Yeah, Eddie's a great broadcaster. Definitely somebody you look up to when you're in this kind of career field. He's a great pairing with Doc Emmerich on NBC Sports usually, and I think he should be back, and he's a fighter and hockey fights cancer. So I hope we see him in the booth in October, 100% ready to go.
Absolutely, that's the goal. That's what we're looking for, and all good thoughts, all good vibes out to our friend, or out to someone I think we all respect, Eddie Olczyk. But moving on to the hockey, moving on to the stuff that happens on the ice, guys. Let's talk about some teams that did really well over the offseason. Let's talk about some teams that just really haven't done well, haven't done what they needed to do, haven't done what we expected them to do over the offseason. 5 hot, 5 not. I kind of compiled a list for you guys of 5 teams that I thought really made a splash this offseason, and 5 teams that just, kind of shut the bed a little bit.
Yeah.
So
let's hear it, Josh.
All right. So for the first team I have, and let me know if you guys agree or not, on my hot list is the New York Rangers. New York Rangers, I felt like they kind of pulled the Washington Capitals. They went even more all in than they were already, because they realized, hey, Henrik Lundqvist is top 3 goaltender in the league, and he's getting. I would say he's top 3, and this is coming from an Islanders fan. So he's top 3 in the league, and he's getting old. He's getting pretty old, and he's not going to be top 3, top 5 for much longer. So we need to get him a nice supporting cast, and that's exactly what they did. They added some extra defense. I do feel that they haven't added enough on offense, but that might just be me as an Islanders fan. But overall, I think they did a nice job this offseason.
I would tend to agree with you, Josh. He is getting up there in age, and it's just kind of difficult when you feel like you're successful as a player, but then the team as a whole isn't successful, and I think that's unfortunate. He's 35, and so, that's pretty much, I would say that goalies tend to peak between about 28 and 32 to 33, and around that range. But he's kind of over that peaking area, and so I think that can become difficult for him mentality-wise. And I think it is smart that they put some supporting cast around him and try to make a longer run into the off-season, or pardon, the postseason, I more say. So I even though the Metropolitan Division is very competitive, as we both know, Josh, I think they could be going in the right direction this season.
Well, Henrik is 35 years old now, and the Rangers, they seem like they're there every year, but the East gets so tough in the playoffs. When the Rangers got to take on teams like Washington or Pittsburgh or even Ottawa. So definitely a big signing with Shattenkirk, getting him from the Capitals to support Lundqvist, but it's starting to become now or never if Lundqvist wants to hoist the cup over his head.
Absolutely. And another team that I saw really making some moves out there are the Calgary Flames. Calgary Flames, they traded away some draft picks. They're cashing in on their young talent right now. It's now or never for the Flames. They added Travis Hamonic from the Islanders, and they traded for Mike Smith for the Coyotes, which I know, Liesl, you're not the biggest Mike Smith fan, but it is an upgrade for the Flames, who really didn't have like a star goalie last year, and it might have held them back a little bit in the playoffs, but now they have Mike Smith. Not saying Mike Smith is a star, but he was an all-star last year. So I feel that the Flames really, I felt they had a good offseason, like a good overall offseason.
I would tend to agree, even though I am not a big Mike Smith fan. I think it was a positive idea by the Coyotes by doing that at the same time. But then you're right, the Calgary Flames did win on that end of the deal, that he's able to go in there and be successful and hopefully give them some hope. They lost in the first round of playoffs this past postseason against the Ducks. They were swept 4-4 all the way across the board. So I think they're looking to go deeper into the playoffs. Just like the Rangers, they're trying to add people to be more successful.
Absolutely, Ethan.
Well, the Flames, you said they added Mike Smith, and they also have Eddie Lack, so a reasonable goaltending tandem. And it's really hard not to compete when you have somebody like Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey. He's an outstanding player. I love his heart every time he plays. He leads the Flames with passion and a fire. They're the Flames, not as well. But yeah, you got Demon like Dougie Hamilton and signing Travis Hamonic. That's they can only go up, and I think the Flames can start to compete now with a lot of young talent.
Absolutely. And then another team that I had on the list, also staying in Canada, I had the Oilers. And the Oilers, really, I only had 1 point for them. And I know they did a few things this offseason, but I think the biggest thing and the most important thing they did was they re-signed Connor McDavid to a long deal. Connor McDavid, and we were talking about this throughout the postseason last year and throughout the regular season last year, is on his way to becoming the next face of hockey. Sidney Crosby right now is the face of hockey, but there's going to be a time 5 years down the road where Sidney Crosby is getting ready to retire. He's kind of moving down from a first line forward to like a second or third line forward, and Connor McDavid will be the face of hockey. And the Oilers
I would agree with that. I would agree. Connor's a special talent, and we haven't seen much potential. And well, I can't speak on it because I wasn't even old enough, but people have compared him to the likes of Gretzky at a young age, but nobody will ever be as good as Gretzky probably. But Connor McDavid, so young, but he has so much poise and so much presence on the team already, and he was only a sophomore last year in the league. But now he's got the big contract, and the Oilers signed Draisaitl too, and that's a tough signing for the Oilers. They're really taking a big leap out there for Draisaitl, but it kind of ties up some salary, and we'll see what the Oilers can do. But hopefully they can get even further in the playoffs next year.
Absolutely, and we've seen teams like going along with your point, Ethan. The Flames and the Oilers, teams that have just been awful for a while. Now they're getting better. They're getting good. They're making moves, and they're trying to compete for the cup.
I really enjoy watching the Oilers play. The times they have come down here to play the Coyotes, I think they're, really interesting, and they have a lot of talent. And, I would tend to agree that it's really crappy watching them be unsuccessful for all those years. And, I'm not necessarily a fan of them, but I can see where a fan is coming from. Maybe you can kind of relate, Josh, of the frustration and the irritation that comes out of it. As for Connor McDavid, I would agree that he will become the face of hockey at some point. This is just my opinion all across the board in all sports. I'm not exactly a huge fan of signing big contracts. His contract is an 8-year deal. That goes through, it expires in 2026. That's a pretty long time. And don't get me wrong, I love it when I see, Crosby and Malkin there for a good period of time. But you never know how those players are going to go. That's betting a lot of money for 8 years. I mean, I'm more of a maybe 4 to 5. That would be a good point. But 8, pushing almost 10 seasons, that's really a long period of time. And you don't know where anyone's career is going. I mean, no one's no one plays the role of God here. So it's really
Absolutely.
difficult to see. I really do hope he is successful next 8 seasons. However, at the same time, it is a huge gamble and a huge risk by the Oilers.
Absolutely. And the Islanders actually paid the price for that. I think they signed Rick DiPietro to like a 10 or at least 10-year deal back in like 2006. And DiPietro was, I don't know if you guys remember, but Liesl, he was up there with Fleury, considered to be one of the next best goaltenders in the league. And he got a concussion back in 2006, 2007, and just never was able to recover fully. Just never became a great goaltender. And the Islanders lost big on that contract. So hopefully that doesn't happen to the Oilers, but it's definitely a possibility.
Well, you're talking about that contract, looking it up, it was a record 15-year deal, and it was going to pay DiPietro $67.5 million.
And see, that's where you bring the money into play. Is every year we're on a salary cap, of course, and everyone's hate of the salary cap. And so if something unfortunate were to happen, they're in a really sticky situation of 8 years. Like, they have to set aside this amount of money for
it ties up so much money.
Yeah, it does.
And they signed Draisaitl to a big contract too. So you have 2 players taking up a lot of salary already. It kind of puts them in a tight bind if they want to sign free agents or something in the future.
Which it would be interesting to see. As we just saw this last, say 2 or 3 seasons, the Chicago Blackhawks have really gotten screwed over because of salary cap. And they've had to let some good people go. And so, what if the Oilers are setting themselves up for that in 8 years? I don't know what happens in 8 years. I don't know where I'll be in 8 years. But at the same time, it's kind of like, ooh, I don't know. You're right. That other 8-year deal. So that's 8 years.
Absolutely. And not only are they betting on themselves, but they're betting on the sport of hockey, and they're betting on the sport of hockey to grow. Because this deal, it doesn't look that bad if the salary cap grows the way it grew in the NBA, the way it grows in the MLB, the way it grows in even the NFL. But if hockey's salary cap stays the same, then it doesn't look good, and it is going to cost them a lot of money. But moving on, the fourth team I think looked good, and maybe we won't see the changes this year, but I think we'll see it in a few years, is the Dallas Stars. Dallas Stars have made some coaching changes. And as a team who was in consideration for the number 1 pick last year, I think coaching changes are the right way to start. So I like what they've done coaching-wise. They've addressed defense, which I think is, out of all the 3 elements of hockey, offense, defense, goalie, I think it's the most underrated part. Because you're always looking for a good goalie, you're always looking for a star center, but teams aren't always thinking about, okay, we need good 6 defenders. We need 8 good defenders to come in and be there on a nightly basis. If one of them goes down, we have a 7th, we have an 8th that can step up and be good defenders, because
I would agree.
The presence of good defense is does wonders for goaltenders.
I think you're right that the Stars really lack defense. But I mean, it's tough to lose when you have such talented players like Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, and then they added Ben Bishop to the goaltending with Kari Lehtinen. My friend back home in Tennessee, he would always call him Kari Lehtinen. But just a funny sidebar. But yeah, I mean, the Stars are pretty talented offensively, but the defense has some questions. I would agree with you there, Josh.
I would even say the goaltending situation is a little iffy. I mean,
true. Ben Bishop has a lot to prove.
Yeah, he does. Ben Bishop does have a lot to prove. Looking at it, Dallas Stars let in 262 goals last season. The defense and the goaltending. And don't get me wrong, the forwards as well, because forwards need to play defense. They were 29th out of 30th in the entire league. That is absolutely horrendous. I mean, that's like at a Coyotes level. And you're right, it is a waste to see players like Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin come in and they're here, and you're kind of like, okay, why is my team letting up 262 goals in the season? That's bad. That should be that should be an alarming thing for them.
But now the Stars have an ex-Coyote in Martin Hansel.
A lot of teams have ex-Coyotes.
Yeah,
It seems like nowadays.
True.
But you're right. I would. I think you put these teams on here for a 5 hot for a reason, and I would agree. In the next few years, that we will see the Dallas Stars be successful. I think that's another interesting area of. Why is a hockey team in Dallas? Why are they in Texas? It's kind of like the same question. Why are they in Arizona or Florida for that matter? So I think they have a lot to prove in general as an organization.
Absolutely, and I'm sure our friend Kat will be happy to hear that we think the Stars are going to be making moves in the next few years. But last team that I thought was hot is the San Jose Sharks. The Sharks made the postseason last year, and they've been in the postseason a lot recently, but they haven't made any moves in the postseason. They haven't really done anything like wow in the postseason.
They got to the Cup against Pittsburgh.
They did get to the Cup against Pittsburgh, but they lost, so I guess that is a wow. But still, I feel that they've made some good moves, and they've made some good moves to go in one last time. They signed Joe Thornton to a 1-year team-friendly deal. They've picked up some assets without really giving up a lot, not signing anybody to that bad 8, 10, or even 15-year deal. They haven't traded away a ton of future round picks this past offseason. So I say good on them for staying competitive, but not mortgaging their future.
I would have to say they lost in the first round to the Oilers. They lost in 6 games.
Tough loss.
Tough
L.
However, I think the first thing when I hear an Oilers and Sharks matchup is the age gap. The Sharks are, I would tend to say, one of the older teams in the NHL.
Yeah, they're kind of in that spot where they're flipping.
Yeah,
they're having to flip. Getting Patrick Marleau, he's old, gotta get him out of there.
You have people like Joel Ward. He was born in 1980. I mean, that's old. When you're looking at the 80s now, 80s is old. I mean, Sidney Crosby,
I'm
for
sure all of our
gosh
parents are gonna love
sakes,
to
is
hear
an
that.
87. But that's old. I mean, the reality is
for sports, definitely.
Yeah, it is for sports. And so I think if they want to have a beneficial future after this season, I think they got to take some people out of there, and I think they got to make a changeover because they obviously could not keep up with the Oilers, or they attempted to, and it was unsuccessful, and that's why they're kind of doing so many things right now. And I think they might be underrated this season just because they didn't do much, and you're right, they didn't give up much. At the same time, I think they might be a little confused of what direction they want to go. So
I see what you're saying.
I think it should be interesting to see how successful they are this season. If their lack of doing anything or doing simple things will help, but I don't know.
Well, the Sharks just need young talent like Tomas Hertl and Melker Karlsson to step up for them, and I think Hertl is definitely going to be a leader, especially after when Pavelski is no longer a Shark, and they just need to try to find a way to keep the team together the right way, because they are in that flipping stage where veterans are getting to that point where they're not producing enough for the team, and then the young players need to fill the void.
Absolutely. So we talked about the teams that I thought 5 hot teams. So now let's talk about 5 teams that just weren't so hot.
So I see in your list, Josh. Give us the New York Islanders. Let's hear it.
The New York Islanders. They traded for Jordan Eberle, which I was excited for. I'm like, all right, we traded for Jordan Eberle. That's a nice move. That's going to get us some nice talent. Then, or not us, the Islanders. But then the Islanders made another trade. They dealt Travis Hamonic to the Flames. Great move for the Flames. Islanders stockpiled some draft picks. I'm like, all right, let's go. Islanders stockpiling some draft picks. Let's see what they're gonna do. And I waited all summer, and it's after Labor Day, and summer is officially over according to the Snapchat filter I saw yesterday. So it's officially over, and the Islanders have not made any moves besides those moves. They haven't signed anybody big. They haven't traded for anybody big, and they haven't even re-signed John Tavares.
How do you feel about that?
Give
us your thoughts. Give us your
sad.
deepest, darkest secret thoughts about that.
I feel very sad, Liesl.
What happens if he leaves? What would you do with yourself?
He should leave.
He should.
Damn
right.
it, he should leave. He's so good. And
I
he's
want
on
to
the
talk
island.
about this. Put him on the list because I had to. No, but I have a Tavares jersey in my closet. It's sitting there. It's sitting there. Every time I see a little Bleacher Report notification about the Islanders, I'm really hoping it's going to be John Tavares has signed a long-term deal, but it's not.
He's going to the Leafs.
The latest news that I saw was that he said we're not in a rush. And
I did see that.
And I saw that they weren't arguing over money, which is very concerning to me because
he wants to win. He's
Yeah.
gotta want to win.
Yeah, and it seems like the Islanders don't want to win. So,
Poor guy.
based on the moves, maybe they think that Josh Hosang is going to come out and he's going to be the next Malkin or he's going to be the next Phil Kessel.
Do you think he will?
Maybe.
Ooh, you have the tip of your tongue to say no. Why were you going to say no, Josh?
Because I haven't seen him in a full season.
Okay.
I haven't seen him in a full season. The same way, Crossing Sports, when everybody was freaking out about Aaron Judge earlier this year, I held my tongue because I'm like, we haven't seen this guy in a full season yet. And look what's happened. He's hitting 180-something after the All-Star break. He doesn't have it. Josh Hosang was great last year. I think he got like 10 goals in like 30 games or something like that. Put up like 20 or 30 points.
You're really overbearing him because he only got 4 goals.
Okay.
And 6 assists.
Okay.
Equaling to 10 points.
10 points. Okay.
10 points.
I knew
so it's a little off
I
of
knew
20
the
to
number
30.
10 was in there somewhere. I knew it was in there somewhere.
You're just trying to make the Islanders.
I'm just
feel
trying to make
better.
myself feel better.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
So,
I don't even know what else to say about the Islanders. I think
Hosang.
Josh wrapped that whole thing up
He's your
for
starting
us.
goalie. A locker, guys.
I don't want to talk about that. it
Ethan, our
should
friend is going down
it
the
should
toilet
be,
right now.
it should be-
tissue, folks.
it should be somebody better. That's all I'm gonna say. It should not be like
So would you take Mike Smith over your 2 choices?
I
right now?
absolutely would take Mike Smith over my 2
Ooh.
choices
Wow.
Cold.
because Mike Smith
You can get
has
it up to
had
Tavares.
decent seasons. And that would at least show Tavares, hey, we're trying to get a goaltender. Like, we get it. Our goaltenders suck. But we're trying right out here. Like, I think that's all Tavares wants to see. He wants to see them try to do something. And they're not trying to do anything.
Do you think part of it is his fault? He is the captain. So at the end of the day, he's in the locker room. He's the one who's the leader. What if he just sucks as a leader? What if it's his fault that the team doesn't want to
Liesl's
try or
just putting
stuff?
my Islanders on blast right now. She'll see.
No, it's just
She'll see this year when they finish past the Penguins. Anyway.
Oh!
Anyway.
That's bold. We'll hold them to it.
I think
Hold them to it.
I think it's interesting, and I think you bring up an interesting point, and I don't know if you meant to bring it up or not, but we see in basketball a lot how players recruit other players. But that doesn't happen in hockey. Players aren't recruiting other players. So maybe that is something that the new leaders, the Connor McDavid's, I'm blanking on his name. He's from Scottsdale, Austin
Matthews.
Austin Matthews. Those new players. Maybe that's something they need to do. They need to start recruiting other stars to come to their teams. But we just haven't
Wouldn't that
seen
be
it.
crazy? What if the NHL shifted? It's like
That
I'm
would
trying to think of the word. Like it's like mantra, like more like the NBA.
absolutely.
And it was kind of like a star-studded thing.
And it's
That'd
like-
be kind of crazy.
And
to see.
even you see that stuff in the NFL, players recruiting players. You see it in the MLB, players recruiting players. You don't see it in the NHL. I don't know why.
I'm not bothered by that. I think it makes it pretty even across the board, and it's more entertaining to watch, especially when it comes to playoff times, instead of, Cleveland's going to blow everyone out, or the Patriots are going to blow everyone out. It's the same people every year.
Yeah.
And in hockey, it's not. I mean, it's rare that it happened back-to-back,
Yeah.
in 2 years. That just never happens. But in general, overall, I think it's fun to watch people spread across the board. However, boys, talking on to my favorite note of the Washington Capitals, You know, they didn't do squat overseas off season. And
if there was a team that did worse than the Islanders, I would say it's the Washington Capitals.
But they didn't have to.
What do you mean they didn't?
We'll get back. Just continue.
The Islanders had to make changes, and they made very few. The Capitals have been treading water in the playoffs, and maybe that's treading water.
In the playoffs.
Yeah.
They've been in the playoffs.
Okay, but they have...
It's up to them to make the next step. They have the talent. They have the meshing. I don't know what's going on. I said earlier in DC, but they need to make it happen.
I said earlier in the year they need to make a coaching change. Clearly, like I said, they have the talent, like you said.
Barry Trotz.
Barry Trotz is a good coach, but they need a new voice in that locker room, and they didn't do it. They didn't.
Personally, the new voice in the locker room comes back down to one person and one person only.
I know who you're going to say.
Who am I going to say?
You're going to say Alexander Ovechkin.
I am. Because as a former captain, you have a lot of responsibilities on your shoulder.
Are you speaking yourself as a former captain?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. I just wanted to see. Make sure.
You have a lot of responsibilities. And Russians are known for...
Whoa.
No, let her speak.
Being Russians.
Russians are known for
Malkin, for example, Malkin does not want a leader spot. He's expressed that. It doesn't appeal to him. He doesn't care. What if at the same time Alex Ovechkin doesn't care about the C on his chest?
Well, that's when you have players like TJ Oshie.
That's a hot take, Liesl. That's a hot take.
Because at the end of the day, if he doesn't care, then why the heck should TJ Oshie care? It's a good point.
That's a hot take. So,
or why should Nick Backstrom care? Why should he care if his captain does not care?
I don't think the issue is Ovechkin not caring. I
think it's the group as a
Barry
whole not
Trotz
caring.
Couldn't get Nashville over the hump, and now you said it. Washington's treading water. Maybe you're right. Maybe they need to switch it up, but
maybe they are. But we spent a lot of time on the Islanders and Capitals for some unknown reason, I guess. But let's do some quick round, like flat lightning round with the final three teams that have not been hot. The Avalanche,
garbage.
Garbage, exactly. They haven't done anything. They have done less than the Islanders and the Capitals to improve, and they were so much worse.
Piss poor last year.
They were just awful. Haven't done anything to improve.
And you know what? They are last in goals for out of 30 for 30 teams. They only scored 166 and goals against 278.
Goodness.
The very last, behind the Dallas Stars.
Wow.
And that's just horrible. And I just go ahead, Ethan.
They got a really good core, forward core, and it's a shame that they're so bad because Nathan McKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog, and Matt Duchene are so talented.
Absolutely. And I feel bad for their fans.
But they were so bad last year.
I feel bad for their fans. We have our one of our favorite people, Ryan Latica. He's a Colorado sports guy. He's the biggest Rockies fan you'll ever meet. He is a Broncos supporter, and you know what? He wants to get into hockey. If the Avalanche are listening, you have a potential super fan, Ryan Latica, waiting for you to make a move, and you are just letting him down.
All right, let's go west.
But at the same point, Ethan, you say they have a good core, they have a good group of players. When I went and watched them in January up in Denver, they do. They're a good team. And it's like, crud, are they going the same path that the Oilers did?
Well, I'm looking at the roster, and they only have 4 demons, so that's kind of
that's a problem.
Yeah,
that is a problem.
That's like the bare minimum. I don't know what they're doing there.
That's a problem.
Definitely tighten up deep.
Another team that has problems is the Los Angeles Kings. The Kings, they won the Cup a few years ago, and now they're getting old. They're not doing anything.
Yeah, they're kind of this is San Jose Sharks in a couple years if the San Jose Sharks don't do anything.
Absolutely. The LA Kings, not good.
Dustin Brown. That dude just fell off, man.
He did.
He was such a good player when they won the Cup.
He was. Jonathan Quick, still a good goalie, but again, we're seeing what happens when you don't have defender support.
He's had to fight off injuries, too.
But here's an interesting thing. They only have 205 goals against, which is 6th in the NHL. But their scoring, their offense is horrible. Non-existent.
Garbage.
Only 201 goals. That's 25th out of 30 teams. That's horrible.
And it's weird when you got a player like I'm forgetting his name. Where they got Marian Gaborik, Anze Kopitar. Oh, Anze Kopitar is he's so talented, but I think he's just getting older now.
He absolutely is. And finally, we're gonna go over a little bit, but we're gonna talk about the Arizona Coyotes. We're gonna talk about what they haven't done, and maybe we'll touch a little bit on where the franchise is going stadium wise, because we haven't talked about that yet, and I know Liesl's got some opinions on that. But yeah, the Coyotes, they didn't really they made some moves, but I don't think they made enough moves. I think the Coyotes are the team closest to the hot list that I put on the not list.
I would agree.
If anyone didn't know, Shane Doan retired this past week.
Yes.
He put it on an article through ArizonaCentral.com, and he wrote it to the fans, and I read it, and he's a very humbling person. And even though he was just kind of an average player throughout his career, he really was just happy to be playing the sport. And I think that's fantastic, and I'm glad that he did retire, because I think the Coyotes let him off on a crappy ending note, to say the least. But at the same time, it's what are you doing with your life at the Coyotes? It's a hot mess. It's a really hot mess over there.
I think they're just so young, and they're trying to find an identity. But you bring in a veteran like Derek Stepan, hopefully that helps kind of get them an identity, and they can start to produce more.
It's unfortunate, because I think there's quite a few people in hockey who don't want to come to Phoenix and play in Phoenix. I mean, if I was on my little list and I was gonna be drafted, I would be horrified to be drafted by the Coyotes. Just horrified. Or even picked up by them.
You're not coming to Phoenix. You're going to Glendale.
Yeah.
Let's remember,
once you're in the NHL, you're in the NHL.
You're in the NHL.
But at the same time, it doesn't.
I wouldn't say that it affects draftees as much. I'd say it affects free agents a lot.
Free agents,
because
definitely.
as
agree.
3 young people living in Phoenix, right? I'd say we're all pretty busy, but when we have free time, we want to spend it hanging out, having fun. And in Phoenix, there just isn't that much to do.
No,
you find yourself looking for activities to do, as opposed to other cities like LA, Seattle, even cities like Dallas.
Or even going into Florida and playing in Florida, for Pete's sakes. I mean, that's even worse than here as a franchise. I think they're about the same, but at the same time, you have tons of things to do instead of coming here. But at the end of the day, the upper management in the organization is really holding the team back from whatever they want to do, and I think it just kind of trickles down into the team itself.
Absolutely. It's leadership from the top down. There might need to be some changes made for the Arizona Coyotes, and that might not be made until somebody else buys the team. But I think that's it for this week, at least. We're going to wrap it up. We will be coming at you again next week with some more hockey news.
Let's get into the Las Vegas team next week.
We're gonna talk about the new Las Vegas team. We're gonna look at their roster. We're gonna look at what they have in the minor leagues. They do have a minor league partner, so we'll talk about that a little bit. And we'll hit you up with everything you need to know about the new Las Vegas team. You're gonna find out next week on the Bar Down Hockey Show with Josh Sackless. And if you want to find some more information from myself, Josh Sackless, this is just not my day. But if you want to follow me on Twitter, basically.
Just follow Josh on Twitter.
Follow me on Twitter. No, but if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Josh Sackless.
And you can follow me. I would probably follow me over Josh at Liesl_Lee.
Wow, Liesl.
And
so mean today.
Ethan Schmidt at the Ethan Schmidt.
Yeah, so you can find all of us on Twitter. Hopefully you got that down. But we'll be back next Tuesday with some information about the Vegas team.